Chelsea with the Fat Quarter Shop, and we are here in the Fat Quarter Shop studio, and we have a special guest, Angela Yosten. Welcome to our studio.
Thanks.
Tell us a little bit about your background and how you grew up in your mother's quilt shop.
Okay, my mom actually had a quilt shop when I was in high school, but we learned how to quilt. She showed us how to sew and quilt when we were probably, I have a little sister that's about a year younger than me, and she taught us how to sew when we were probably about 7, 8 years old. So we've been sewing, either through like the hand canvas. We started off with that and doing sewing machine where we would sew little quilts and try to sew little clothes and different things like that. But my mom, when we got it, I was probably, I think, in 8th, 9th grade, she started a quilt shop. And she had that for, I think, between 7 to 10 years. I don't remember exactly. I graduated and was off on other things. I didn't really, at that time, I didn't really want to be a part of it. I worked at a bank, and my sister worked in the quilt shop. And so at that time, it just wasn't something that I wanted to do. I had no interest in sewing and quilting and that kind of thing. It was more of when I had my first child is when I decided.
Is that when you started quilting seriously?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how that happened.
With, well, I've always dabbled in the sewing. I knew how to sew. We did it in home ec and different things. But when I had my first child, Paige, she's almost 8 years old now, just wanted to make some things for her, wanted to do her bedding for her bedroom, and I like doing the home deck stuff. So started sewing pillows and different things like that when she was, or actually before she was born. So
and then just led into quilting.
Yep.
Do you think that growing up in a sewing household, it kind of shaped your creative process?
I think so. My grandmother's quilt, or actually my great-grandmother quilted. I have a couple of her quilts, and I love them. They're just so simple, and just there's something about them that's just warm and cozy about them. My other grandmother, she knits, and then I have a grandmother that does a lot of art. So I actually, in high school, I drew a lot. I drew portraits and just like to paint and different,
A lot of creativity.
Yeah. So definitely come from a creative family.
You currently work for Moda Bake Shop. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do for Moda?
Okay. I'm Moda's web developer. We created the Moda Bake Shop in 2009 is actually when it actually launched. 2008 we came up with the concept, and it was at a market. The theme of the market was Moda Bake Shop for all the pre-cuts that were coming out. So Lisa and I just kind of sat there and started brainstorming on how we needed to develop a tutorial website using our pre-cuts, and so that's kind of how Moda Bake Shop began, and just started playing on words with the whole bake theme in our pre-cuts. So and for Moda, I do their website, so I created the Moda Bake Shop online, and it is now handled by Lisa Colley. She's our admin for it, and I do everything else that's on the website. Anything web related normally comes to me, unless it's like adding product and stuff like that. We have somebody else in the office that does that. I do all of the development part of it.
So can you tell us a little bit about what the consumer can expect from Moda Bake Shop, like what's found on the website?
Okay, Moda Bake Shop we have all kinds of tutorials that are posted. We have one post every other day, so there's hundreds of tutorials on our website, and they're all step-by-step tutorials with pictures.
And they range in difficulty.
Yes, and we actually have a guide system that says if it's easy or for
someone more advanced.
Yeah. So it's a little rotary cutting system that Lisa put into place, so it's been helpful. And then we've got sections on the website that's called Bakery, so you can learn about the pre-cuts and know how many strips are in a jelly roll, or how many squares are in a layer cake or charm pack, bundles, turnovers, all of the different pre-cuts. You can learn a little bit more about those in the bakery section, and then find recipes, the tutorials, we call them recipes, for each of those pre-cuts. So if you have a jelly roll at home and you're looking for a project to make with that jelly roll, then you can just go to our bakery section and view all the projects that use a jelly roll.
Okay, so do each project kind of focus on one pre-cut?
Normally it's at least one. Okay. Some of them will use 2 or 3 different types of pre-cuts. I've done one actually that used, I think, 3 different pre-cuts. It was a jelly roll, charm pack, and a turnover. And so we try to show people that you can use mix and match. Yeah. And you don't have to use a whole pre-cut for something. We've got some that are just maybe using a couple pieces of it for your scraps, that are leftovers from a bigger project. And then there's some that use maybe 2 or 3 different, whole packs of pre-cuts. So
a lot of variety.
Yes, there's a ton of variety.
Tell us a little bit about your family.
Okay, my extended family or my immediate family? Okay. I have 3 kids, wonderful husband. Our kids are almost 8. She'll be 8 on Monday.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah. And then Matthew is our middle child. He's 6. I have to think about their ages. And then Roman is the baby. He's almost 17 months old. So.
Do you do a lot of sewing for them?
I do. They inspire me on most everything I do now. I mean, I kind of try to make, if I want to make something for them, I try to make a dual purpose out of it and save some time and make it into a pattern. So I'll try to think of something original or something that's my own idea. If Paige comes to me and she wants a doll, then we'll draw up a little doll sketch and
you can use it as a pattern as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Does that happen often with the quilts that you design as well?
Yeah. If I want Paige's bedroom, for example, I redid her bedroom and I have some patterns that I'm going to create out of that. Yeah. And it's just,
That's really sweet.
Yeah, I made her bedding and her curtains and everything else. So try to do 2 things at once instead. It just saves me time and I don't have to worry about
designing 2 separate.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Does she come to you asking for specific projects, like Mom, I want a quilt, Mom, I want a bag?
Yeah, it's mainly Matthew that does. Yeah.
That's adorable.
Matthew is he's our little artistic kid. He has some drawings that just amaze us just because they're detailed. Like step by step, I want an Iron Man doll and this is how you're going to make it. I'm like, okay. So Paige actually, she'll do that too. She's done that she'll have a doll and she wants a little princess hat for it. So she sketches up her little princess hat and I try to make it, as close as possible for that. So yeah.
Do you plan to teach them to sew?
Yeah, Paige actually, she's 7 right now. And it cracked me up just because it was just a couple weeks ago. I asked her, I was sewing in the sewing room on the weekend and I asked her, I was like, Paige, you want to come help me sew? You want me to show you how to, make something? And she was like, not today. Maybe when I turn 8. I'm like, 8? And she goes, yeah, not today.
8's so much different than 7.
8, yeah, it's different because then 8, she's older and then she'll be ready. So I'm curious to see what happens when she turns 8 on Monday, if she's ready to sew, because she's been eyeing this Hello Kitty sewing machine that Janome makes. So I'm like, okay, we'll see.
That's adorable. So tell us about your new fabric collection, Flats. We have a lot of flats here with us today. So just tell us a little bit about your inspiration behind it.
Okay. Again, Moda Bake Shop, Paige, Kids Inspiration. Paige was working, she was playing with some paper dolls, different things like that, and her brother kept terrorizing them. So
as brothers do.
Falling apart, legs coming off, heads coming off. So Paige would come screaming, "Mom, Matthew tore the whatever off." So tape them up. It had to figure out a plan, something else that
a way to not destroy her toys.
Right. Yeah. Something that would last, and I didn't have to keep hearing the screaming. So it was more of like a sanity thing for me.
A solution to a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, trying to kill two birds with one stone. If I'm going to create something, why not make a pattern or a tutorial out of it? So with Moda Bake Shop being so new, I came up with a flats cloth doll, paper doll type thing that wouldn't fall apart. I mean, that used a layer cake. So because everything on the Moda Bake Shop has to use some kind of pre-cut. So layer cake was perfect for it. For the clothing and everything. The dolls were actually made of just yardage. Sketched out the dolls and how the clothing would, fit on there and how it was all going to work. Yes. Yep. So these are some of the sketches of the clothing that I drew up, and then the dolls. So I wanted a place to where I was trying to figure out how can the clothing attach, and I wanted to use Velcro, but I didn't want it to look like you just stuck Velcro on the bodies. And so I added little underwear, because paper dolls have underwear when you see them before they put the clothes on. So I thought, okay, let's just make the Velcro underwear. It's white. Okay. Socks. So that's kind of how they started off, is just my sketches, and then I scanned them into the computer and made them, outlined them and made digital versions of them, and then printed them out as like a little, it was just so consumers could print it out and trace it onto their fusible webbing, and then iron it onto the fabrics that they choose and create their own dolls and clothing sets. So that's kind of how they began. And those, they became popular on the web and online, just everybody making them, and had some questions about them. So a few years went by, and I've always had it in my head that it be perfect on fabric already printed, to where all they had to do is cut it out and sew it together and take the tracing step out of it. So went to our design director and asked her about it, and she was for it. So I created all the files and submitted them, and it's what you see today. So I came up with some coordinating prints that would go with the clothing that are on the flats clothing. So that way, if you wanted to make your child a dress like this one to match your little flats doll, then you could do that. Or so it was a lot of fun, a lot of work, but it's nice to see it all finished.
So tell us a little bit more about the coordinating prints. This is a jelly roll of flats. How did you get your color inspiration? Because these are very unique colors.
Okay, well, being that flats, I wanted it to be a very basic collection, something that could be for boys and girls, but something that just, I don't know, it's something that I would be interested in. So I started off with some solid colors that I liked together, and I wanted kind of like a crayon box where you get your basic 8, but I wanted something also that had a little bit of a vintage feel, just something classic, something that not very necessarily trendy, but something that would work. Like I wanted a yellow, but I didn't want a yellow. Like I wanted a more of like a butterscotch yellow color. So I went for more of a butterscotchy, cheddary color. And then the blue, I personally like more of the aqua light blues, not the navy blues or the royal blues and that kind of thing. So the blues, I just went with the light color because I love the red and the blue together. Yes. So the reds, it just kind of, I just went for things that I liked personally. The green's my favorite color, so I had to get that green down perfect. And I love the celery green colors. So it just, when I started putting the colors that I like out of each family, I put them together and just made sure they worked well together. So.
And can you tell us a little bit about the prints that you find in the collection? What you can expect from the coordinating prints?
Yeah, the prints I went with. I didn't want to do too many girly prints, so I only did one floral. But I wanted
very
something
small scale floral that can be used in a lot of different
Yes,
ways.
a lot of these are all like really small scaled because flats are small.
Yeah.
And the kids are small, so you don't want anything huge on a kid if you're going to make them a matching shirt or a matching dress or jacket or whatever it is, skirt. So I wanted it to look right on a child
and look right on a doll.
Yes, yeah. So flats being small, I wanted to stick with the smaller prints. So there's one floral, and then I wanted something geometric. The rest of the prints I wanted more that would be gender neutral.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter if it was, I didn't want the boy, all boy or all girl. And these are very modern. I wanted to keep the colors very simple to where they didn't mix with each other, but they could coordinate with each other if you mixed them all together. So you'll see a lot of them where they're just a color and then on white. So just the little diamond circles is what I call it because it looks like little diamonds in the circles. And then this is just a different type of gingham plaid.
Bit of a texture.
Yeah, when I was I did a lot of these just through, making them digital. I did it mostly on computer. The plaid, I wanted to do a solid and then something in the middle, in between that kind of more of like a cross hatching, that just something different.
Yeah.
Something you don't really see out there very much. And then this is more of like a jean inspired print, so you can kind of see. I wanted it to make sure.
Denim inspired solid.
Yes. Yeah.
Great blend.
Yeah, but I didn't want it to be like, some of those denims are very scratchy looking, and I was really picky on that denim. It had to be perfect. So I just, a lot of this it was great working with Moda, putting the collection together. And there's a dottie in here too. And the blue obviously had to have the red dot on it. But the other ones, and then there's also a stripe.
Perfect.
But yeah, it was great working with them because they had kind of the same, they knew what I was going for. I provided them with all of the digital files and what I wanted. I was very specific with what I wanted on that, and they saw that vision, which was great. So it was
Can you tell us what kind of projects you hope to see out of flats?
I'd love to see all kinds of projects. I love the quilts. Like this train quilt is so adorable. When I saw that, when Kimberly sent it to me to see the design, it was just very, very, very cute. I loved how she used the prints.
The train quilt is called All Aboard, and it was designed by Jocelyn of Itso Emma, our pattern company. We just adore this quilt.
It's adorable, and I guess there's a wall hanging that matches it as well, which is really, really cute. But then, just other quilts, like I've got a baby Argyle quilt that was inspired by one of the t-shirt prints of the collection. So one of the flats shirts, their t-shirt has an Argyle print across it. So I kind of blew that up into a quilt version. And just, besides quilts, soft books, I actually have a soft book that I'm working on as well, that uses the flats so that you can learn from. It's more of a learning soft book. Clothing, I'd love to see anything.
Yeah.
Dolls.
Very versatile.
Yeah.